who has had a bad week, Dominic?
Well, last week we discussed the phenomenon of cucumber season. This week on the Europeans, I'm announcing that it is sausage season. And I'm giving bad week to the Bratwurst after a row ignited...
Sorry, what? Is it Oktoberfest or something? Beer and Bratwurst?
No, but it was Bratwurst, International Bratwurst Day past weekend. So, yeah, that's why it's coming up. But, yeah, apologies in advance for this being a very German-heavy food and drink good week, bad week. At least it's got like a dramaturgical through line. Yeah, so I'm giving bad week to the Bratwurst after a row reignited between two German states about which state can claim to have created this most beloved German culinary product. Yeah, all of this happened around a time which should have been a moment of celebration, World Bratwurst Day, which I'm sure you were all celebrating on August the 16th. Do you think everyone knows what a Bratwurst is, Wojciech? Or should I?
I'm absolutely sure everyone in this part of Europe, but then maybe we should just do a very quick explainer.
Basically, the Bratwurst is an iconic German sausage which is often served with mustard and in or with a white bread roll. It can be prepared and served in many different ways, depending on which state you are in. And I think it's fair to say that German society essentially runs on three pillars: manufacturing, techno music, and Bratwurst.
It is fair to say, indeed. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm really happy you're talking about German sausages again, seeing as the last time you mentioned the currywurst, the Volkswagen currywurst on the show, it went so viral on our Instagram. It basically blew up the internet.
It's true. Yeah, that video has been viewed on Instagram hundreds of thousands of times, which I find pretty random.
Random.
Yeah, actually, it's a little sidebar. Because it went viral, I also got quite a bit of hate online because that's what happens. Mainly from Germans who are angry at me for describing the currywurst as unhealthy. And yeah, maybe there are more unhealthy snacks out there, but I think some of these defensive Germans need to read up on processed meat. But back to bad week.
Throne. Okay.
Yeah, but back to bad week before I create a diplomatic crisis for offending more Germans, although I should have mentioned that I am actually a German citizen myself. This week I wanted to discuss the feud between the state of Bavaria and the state of Thuringia. To be honest, the feud about who invented Bratwurst has been going on for decades, but the whole thing blew up again over the past week. And it's not just arguments between the two states, because actually in the past there have been arguments within Bavaria about which town first served Bratwurst. That one was seemingly settled, and the title is currently held by a restaurant in Regensburg, a place called Wurst Case, which claims to have the oldest Bratwurst stand in the world. Although the Nurembergers point out that Wurst Case has actually changed location since it started, whereas Nuremberg's oldest Bratwurst joint, not as old, but it is still in the same place. Am I getting too into the weeds?
I'm completely lost, but carry on.
Okay, well, anyway, before I get carried away, Wojciech, if you had to guess, in which year do you think Wurst Case began serving Bratwurst?
Bratwurst, it's not a very high-techy food. I would say it could be like medieval times, let's say 15th century.
They say that it was in the year 1378 that Bratwurst began being prepared at their spot, which is a long time ago. And yeah, I find it kind of charming that they are still serving Bratwurst there, even as someone who thinks we all need to stop eating meat. But the reason why I'm talking about this all today is because whilst some work was being done looking into the heritage of the famous Kraemerbrücke or Kraemer Bridge in Erfurt, a historian found a document that described a hut and a roasting pan being present on their bridge over 100 years before the Regensburg restaurant's first Bratwurst was served in the year 1269.
This is getting weirder and weirder. Am I right to assume you're only talking about this because the bridge has the same name as your surname or something?
No. No. That's not why I'm talking about it. Although I actually have
self-indulgent, to be honest.
Yeah, I have actually been to the Kraemer Bridge.
Really?
How
was it?
It's so beautiful. It's one of the few bridges in the world that has inhabited buildings on it. And they're almost all artisanal shops and cafes with the owners of the shops living in the apartments above. So I actually really recommend a trip to Erfurt if you're in the area. I was there when my husband was working there for a few months. Kraemer means small shop owner or small merchant, which is why Kraemer Bridge is the bridge for the small shop owners.
Everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Erfurt and I love the Kraemer Bridge, not just because of my name.
You're probably getting some royalties for every ticket sold. Anyway, I don't think you're going to be an impartial judge here between Regensburg and Erfurt.
Well, it's true I've not been to Regensburg, but I don't doubt that it also has its charms. And actually, when it comes to this Bratwurst feud, I do feel a bit sorry for Regensburg because in this historical document that was found that describes a roasting pan in a small hut on the Kraemer Bridge in Erfurt, there is absolutely no mention of sausage.
What? So why is there even a debate right now then?
Well, Martin Sladacek, the World Heritage Project Manager who was involved with uncovering this document, says, even if it wasn't mentioned what the food was that was fried, quote, we know what people ate in the Middle Ages, sausages and fried meat.
Uh-huh. Well, that's not a very rigorous scientific approach to my ears.
It isn't, is it?
It's not. And how has the restaurant in Regensburg responded to this claim then?
They're actually being quite blasé about it. They don't think it's such a big deal, which I think is fair enough.
Where's the feud then? It doesn't sound like...
Oh, just you wait to hear what I've got coming. Honestly, I really fell into the rabbit hole about the origins of Bratwurst, and it very quickly gets very confusing. Well, actually, it seems like you're already confused, aren't you, Wojciech?
I don't think I remember being more confused, to be honest, during any of the Good Week, Bad Week recordings.
Sorry. Well, someone who isn't confused is the owner of the German Bratwurst Museum in Mühlhausen. Yes, that exists. A guy called Thomas Moyer. He claims that the first written evidence of a Bratwurst dates only to 1404, so much later than the Regensburg restaurant. And he says that was in Arnstadt, a town in Thuringia. So, yeah, it's really confusing. And as for Erfurt's new claim, Thomas Moyer, this museum owner, says, I consider it very bold to conclude from this that Bratwursts were cooked there. So, yeah, basically it's complicated, and the argument as to who deserves the crown of the oldest Bratwurst is definitely going to continue for many years to come. But this is where it starts getting really weird. Now, you remember I mentioned that Nurembergers think that their restaurant is actually the oldest still running Bratwurst joint in Germany. Well, they have used this moment with the historians in Erfurt reopening the argument to stake their claim once again. And the owner of the Nuremberg restaurant, Zum Golden Stern, a woman called Sophia Hillebrand, has challenged Thomas Moyer, the owner of the Bratwurst Museum, to a boxing match to defend Nuremberg's Bratwurst history.
To a boxing match?
Yes. Yes, Thomas Meyer from the museum has accepted the challenge, and a boxing match has been organized for the 26th of September at the museum in Mühlhausen.
So
and
he agreed?
He agreed, yeah. And at this match, it will apparently be decided once and for all who has the oldest Bratwurst. Although I just don't understand why the other towns of like Erfurt and Regensburg haven't been invited to the fight. Why it's just between the museum owner and the owner of this restaurant that currently isn't described as the oldest restaurant. It's very weird.
I think they should just join, sort of like professional wrestling style. They appear somewhere out of nowhere, then join the brawl, and then it's decided at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. And honestly, maybe it is going to be more in the style of that kind of theatrical WWF fighting, because it seems the museum owner, Thomas Moyer, and the Nuremberg restaurant owner, Sophia Hillebrand, aren't going to be fighting themselves. They're going to find proxies, apparently. And I think it's essentially all a publicity stunt, a trap to get foolish podcasters like me to talk about it. And yeah, here I am falling into that trap. But I just find it odd and kind of fascinating that this is all happening at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious who the proxies are going to be. Is it going to be like a real fight when someone's going to like knock out somebody and it's going to be decided like that? Or is it going to be this theatrical, WWF thing?
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out. Maybe we need a special episode.
Okay, so the last question I would have for today is, what's the point of all this? Like, does it really matter who has the oldest bratwurst?
Thank you for being the voice of reason, Wojciech. You're absolutely right. And actually, the nice thing about the German bratwurst is that there are all these regional differences to how they are prepared. In Nuremberg, the bratwurst is small and thin, often served with sauerkraut. In Thuringia, it's longer and fatter. The Fränkische bratwurst is also relatively long and often made with marjoram. So there are all these different types, and some of the regional bratwurst even have that protected geographical indication thing that the EU hands out to certain regional products, which connects the name of the product and its specific characteristics to the region. Anyway, all of this bratwurst fighting may be a distraction from the fact that the long-term trends for bratwurst look quite similar to the long-term trends for alcohol drinking in Germany. Consumption of pork amongst Germans has been decreasing in Germany steadily over the past decade.
No way.
Yeah, something which I would argue is a pretty good thing for the environment, but yeah, not such a good thing for bratwurst restaurant owners. So maybe that's why they're trying to drum up some attention with this maybe slightly manufactured feud.
German culture is falling into pieces.
They'll be coming for the techno next. Anyway, with that in mind, I am giving bad week to the bratwurst.